Hello, everyone. My name is Angelique Jackson, Senior Entertainment Writer at Variety, and I am so thrilled to take this deep dive into Warner Brothers' King Richard. And joining me are some of the notables behind the film. First, we have director Reinaldo Marcus Green, screenwriter Zach Baylin, star Aunjanue Ellis,
Hello.
and hello, and last but certainly not least, the woman very much behind this story, Miss Oracene Price. It is a pleasure and an honor to talk with you all about this film.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
so much for having us.
Well, Anjanou, I'm going to start with you because, as I believe I may have said to you before, as much as the title of this film is King Richard, I also believe that it is also Queen Oracene. So to be able to take on the story and rather part of the story of the woman who is kind of sitting here on in this group with us, what did it mean to you to take the opportunity to play Miss Oracene Price?
It was one of the greatest honors I've ever had as an actor. I feel I've played roles that are based on real people. I've done that a few times in the last few years, and all of them have been people that I, coincidentally have the greatest amount of respect for. I did not know Miss Oracene. I only knew of her from being in the stands and having these dope shades on every time, we see her, but I didn't know her. And I didn't know, there was so much I did not know. And so when I started working on the film, doing my research and found out the real story of Miss Oracene, to be able to be a part of something that would shine a light on the absolutely incredible woman that Miss Oracene Price is, how she has been consequential in changing the sport of tennis, but also consequential in changing how we see Black women in culture, in ways that we don't even understand. So it meant everything for me to be a part of this. I just wanted to be in the Williams family story, but then you add on top of that who this woman is, it magnified everything for me.
Miss Oracene, to that same end, obviously you and your family played a big role in bringing this movie to life, and we'll dive into that in a second. But I wanted to ask you about the finished product first. That first time that you watched the film and were able to kind of take a glimpse at what was brought to the screen. What did you make of this movie?
Well, when I first saw the film, at first I wasn't going to look at it because I don't want to see me. But the best way for me to answer that question is this way. When the film was put out for the public to see, my sister called me and she told me that that was you. And everyone that know me said that was you. Sometimes we don't see ourselves as we are, but when other people see the embodiment done or portrayed by someone else, I said, okay, that was me, because I'm telling you, I just talked to her over the phone one time. We had one discussion because I didn't come to LA and, COVID and everything was going on, but she talked to me on the phone one time. And then she gave my character who I was. And that's what I wanted. I wanted someone to portray me for me and not something that's they thought of in their own mind. And she did a great job.
Ray, talk to me about casting Anjanou in this role and finding in her as an actor before you guys even got started, knowing that she would be able to find that who Miss Oracene is within her as an actor.
Well,
I didn't.
Zach and I and Tim White, the producer, flew down to meet Oracene, and she was so gracious and opening the doors to us. And we were able to somehow steal 4 or 5 hours, on tape, and just being in Oracene's presence is quite remarkable. Look, I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad that we have a movie now, but knowing who she's the mother of, right? You're coming into a situation and she's just so present. You can feel how present she is, how aware, how intelligent, how sensitive. And these are the nuances of character that you're looking for when you're casting a role, right? You're looking for all of the intangibles, right? Because there's lots of great actors out there, but there's a presence, there's a screen presence, there's a poise is a word that I'd love to use, right? Because there's strength and determination, but there's poise. And I felt all those things in that amount of time that we were together, and also someone that was fun and was able to, make us laugh and break the ice a little bit. And so all of those flavors of characters, I felt, in the short time that we got to know each other. And then, of course, knowing Anjanoue's work and not knowing her as a person, but feeling those attributes, feeling like she has all of those things and more to give. She's a brilliant actor, but she has also those intangible things that you can't make up. And boy, did she do it. And look, you don't know how those things work when you put Aunjanue and Will in a room, but that's what happened. We put them in the room and fireworks happened. And I remember looking at Will, and it was just like, well, that was easy. like I'm sure we couldn't tell her in the moment, but it certainly was like, for sure, she is the person that we've been looking for. So yeah, look, I've never had the chance to say it to you, Oracene, but thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing us to make this movie. It was a true honor to tell your story and your family's story. I could not think of a better person than Aunjanue Ellis to have done this role, to portray you in the film. I think she did it, completely with honesty and truth and justice. And it just brings me so much joy to see you up on the screen, depicted in that way. So thank you for allowing us to be a small part of that journey. And it was truly an honor to tell your story.
Thank you for making it work and make it happen. Because it has to have a director, right? And the direction it could go.
That's for sure.
It could be piloted in the wrong direction, and we don't direct
itself.
That's important. Really.
Yeah.
Well, winding the clock back a little bit even further, than to you, Zach, you took research, you took, watching different film and moments and interviews and reading newspaper clippings and really, finding the heart of the Williams family before you even met, also Miss Oracene and the rest of the family. Talk about what it was that you found to kind of craft this story, and in particular, this role.
Well, it was a pretty labyrinthian journey, I would say, to get the Oracene's character correct. I think that, I had done a lot of, I had written a draft on my own before we showed it to Oracene and her family. And I had done a lot of, research, reading every sort of piece of video footage I could get my hands on. But frankly, there was not as much video of Oracene in those years as there was of Richard. And so I felt like I had a pretty good handle on, on how he spoke, on what his perspective was. But I think, Oracene, you were a little bit more of an enigma to me, and probably the first drafts of the script reflect that. But then we had this amazingly gracious meeting with Oracene at the US Open. I think it was in 2018. And she and Isha sat down with us and went through the script and essentially said, okay, like if we're gonna be a part of this, if you guys are gonna make this, then we need to know that you're gonna accurately represent who we are and what our experiences were in this time in our life. And Oracene was incredibly open and gracious and gave us, sort of walked through the script and the scenes that we had and said, okay, well, this was my recollection of how this event happened, and this is how I felt at this time. And the biggest thing that that the family, I think, said to us, to me and Ray and Tim and the producers and everyone throughout this time that we built into the script really was just how much of a backbone Oracene had been to not just being the breadwinner, being the person who was really running the family at home, but also being a hugely integral part of their tennis development and upbringing and coaching. And it was hugely important to Isha and to Venus and Serena and everyone that was represented accurately in the script. And so it was very fun to then begin to figure out how to implement that with going back down to Florida and meeting with Oracene and Venus again. And then once Aunjanue came on, Aunjanue is a very talented writer herself, and we worked on all those scenes together, and they brought things to it that really built out the character, and hopefully, as Oracene said, made it really sing and feel alive and accurate.
Well, I want to dive into a couple of those scenes here in a second, but first I want to ask you, Miss Oracene, on the opposite side of those first meeting and those conversations, what was your why? Why did you and your family, but in particular you, feel like now was the right time for this story to be told and that these were the right collaborators to do it with?
Why was, and the girls were coming near the end of their career, was one reason. And we didn't want to reveal all the secrets of how they trained and how mental tennis is, which I see a lot of kids don't really understand that part. And if you see what's going on in tennis today, and I was always afraid of giving away the secret.
That's fair.
And so we never really rushed into it.
But then these folks came along and you said, this feels right. So what about this felt right?
Yeah, well, they were honest and they wanted to get the real story. And that's what I always wanted. I wanted the real story, not some cracker box, get something out of cracker box and then say, okay, this is a story of Venus and Racine, because I've seen too many of those and you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, because people have to be real, and the most people are not real in what they're saying, and then they lie. And I didn't want any lies in the movie at all.
Well, this movie is no holds barred and really does tell the truth. In particular, about many things. But something that I know Aunjanue was very important was that idea that Miss Oracene was holding down the family at home behind the scenes, with work, but also out on the tennis court as well. So tell me a little bit about, building out that part of the legacy and how Venus and Serena got their skills.
Yeah, well, I think that's what separates this film from a lot of stories that center male heroism. And I want to give a big shout out to Zach, to Ray, and to Will, who were as bored with that kind of trope as I am, and who wanted to do something that Miss Oracene has said was truthful, and to truthfully tell the Williams family story is to tell the reality that Miss Oracene was a partner in their tennis development. Yes, she was, you know, all those things that mothers are. She was their seamstress. She was their cook. She was their hair designer. I mean, you know what I mean? She, you know, was working when filling the gaps when Mr. Richard could not do that. I've said a couple of times, and I'm going to stand by it, that if Mr. Richard was the architect of that dream, then Miss Oracene was the builder of that dream. And so these recordings that Ray and Zach did were, you know, invaluable to me. And one of the things that was Miss Oracene spoke about, I don't know if you remember this, Miss Oracene, but you talked about how you were an athlete as a kid, and how dominating, you know, you were when you played baseball. And I hearing that, I think that it was one of the most effective parts of building what I built in terms of character work, because I just thought about, okay, how do you carry that kind of, you know, swagger as a kid? How does that convey into a wife of tennis geniuses? So yeah, it was that kind of foundational stuff that I tried to work with to build it out, as you said.
Guys, do y'all remember the one of the first scenes you worked on as a group?
I think it was more really conversational, getting to know Oracene and the general feeling of the sentiments in the movie. What are we after? What are we trying to achieve globally? Are we hitting these things in the right way? Representing the family right? I think one of the things that we don't talk about is faith, and I think that's important. And you know, that was something that obviously is very clear. It was part of the family, and we wanted to show that. And I think we talked a lot about faith. And I, you know, those were the kind of things, touchstones. Of course, started working within scenes, and I know the kitchen scene had come up at some point in some iteration. But it was really about the girls and getting nuances of those moments and making sure that we were representing those things accurately, and you know, that the voice felt strong. I remember one of the first things that Oracene said was, "Don't make me a chump." You know, and I said, "Okay, well, we're not going to make you no chump, that's for sure." You know, and I hadn't heard the word chump since my dad, so I was like, "Okay, I know exactly what she's talking about." I grew up with a Black father. I know what a chump is, and so you know, like. I got like completely, I knew the picture. I got it, and it was crystal clear from that moment. So you know, we were just mining those things, and of course, behavior. I think behavior is a big thing. Like I said, poise, presence. Those things are that they go beyond the script, right? There's the words, and Zach was working so brilliantly with those scenes and crafting those things for us to play with. And I think, you know, these conversations were really about making sure that the moments, okay, what was it really like with Venus and Serena in the room? Okay, they didn't have the same infighting that most families have. Like, these girls are really best friends. Serena would skip a match to see Venus practice. You know, like, these are the kind of things that now we're armed with going back to the next, you know, sort of pass of the script.
And I think for me, it was, I think just the voice really was the most important part. And just, you know, getting to spend the hours that we did with Oracene, and I mean, you hear her here, she's, you know, extremely eloquent and extremely precise in her thoughts. And when, you know, I think that there are scenes that Aunjanue just brought that out, where she does not have to say much, but the power and conviction of what she's saying is really emotional. And I think that was, you know, trying to just capture that on the page and capture that on the screen was, you know, probably the most beneficial thing of those hours together.
It feels very much like the beauty of the kitchen scene. The reason why the kitchen scene is so powerful is because of all of the lead up to the kitchen scene, the various discussions that Oracene and Richard have about, you know, we're a team here, right? In particular, when we're when we're deciding to leave Coach Paul Cohen, when you have the moment where you walk over to the neighbor's home, all of those things leading to this eventual kind of revelation of, you know, really explaining why I am still here. So can we talk a little bit about how that scene evolved into such an important moment, and one that has been you know, such a highlight of this film? Ms. Oracene, I'll ask you first. What was your, when you first either read or saw that scene, what was your first reaction to it?
You're speaking of the scene in the kitchen.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought it represented me because the things that she said, it may not have been the exact words, but it represented who I am. I'm quiet in the background, but I don't play, don't mess. You know, it's like you don't just think I'm a pushover. You know, it's just that I am who I am, but I don't like confrontation. But that don't mean I'm afraid of it. And I try to avoid it. I try to be peaceful, and that's about it. You know, and then I just go on with my life, forgive, forget, and go on. It's over.
Aunjanue, for you, why do you think that is a scene that sticks with people similarly so much?
I just think what I hope is that what comes through in that scene is that Miss Oracene strikes me as a woman of conviction. Mm-hmm. And I think that cannot be undersold in any way. In a film, it can't be undersold in the way that we know Miss Oracene Price now. And I think that because Miss Oracene is, as Ray has said, is a woman of faith, I think women of faith in particular are sometimes dismissed and devalued. And I know, because I had women of faith who raised me, how they were, if there weren't women of faith, and particularly Black women of faith, I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. And then the story of the experience of women in the 20th century and women in the 21st century, the women of faith are not given that place. And that is an erasure, and that is unfortunate. So for me, what I wanted to do, what I tried to do, was say in that confrontation that Miss Oracene had, but she didn't want to have, but she was gonna have, that her conviction was not about a man. That it was something that she was beholden to, that had nothing to do with anything on this earth. That she was connected to something that was of God and about God. It was a relationship that she had with God that was so important to her. It is her marriage. It is how she deals with her children. It is all of those things. And I wanted to be the voice of that. I humbly say that I wanted to be the voice of that, because I feel, Miss Oracene, as much as I respect you, the reason why I respect you so much is because you're my grandmother, you're my mother, you know, you are so many women, particularly Black women, who no one knows. And I have to say that it hurts me that I didn't know you. I didn't know that one of the reasons that I'm so proud of Venus and Serena is because of you. It's not just their tennis. It's because you put those beads in their hair. And the reason why you put those beads in their hair, when I read Zach's script, That was one of my favorite that was my favorite scene in the whole movie. Because in knowing the history behind that and that you did that, I was like, yes. It was my favorite scene in the film. It is still my favorite scene in the film. So that kitchen scene for me was just, I wanted to speak for her conviction. And the other part of it is, and I'll say this and I'll be quiet, is that there are going to be a whole lot of other Venus and Serena films before all of us are dead and gone. People will still be telling stories about Venus and Serena. But how many times are we going to get the chance to give Miss Oracene her peonies like you got in the background, Angelique? You know, how many times are we going to be able to do that and her to see it for herself? So that to me was most important about that.
Miss Oracene, I do want to speak about that as well. That in particular, that scene as Aunjanue, as you, is braiding Venus's hair. As a young girl, seeing that image of this young woman walking onto the tennis court, looking and representing us in that way, was so iconic and was so groundbreaking, and was something that I don't think any of us will ever forget. When you read and saw that, the story behind that scene, the story behind those images were going to be told, what did you think?
Well, before, I gave it a lot of thought even before, because I had no doubt that they would become who they are. Because when there's doubt, then there's fear, and then you can't accomplish anything. So they were, in a sense, programmed how to react to the people who they were going to be around, how to filter the things that they do. Not to, if someone throw a stone, not to throw it back. How to be polite, and then say what you have to say, but always be honest and truthful with it. Because no matter what you do, the truth is going to always stand firm. Only the lie just tear apart. So you have to be who you are. And with that scene with the braiding, I wanted people to know who they are. These were Black girls who weren't afraid to be Black. Yeah. They wanted to represent not only themselves, but others too. And in doing that, I seen where it not only represented only the Black people themselves, but others too, who found a platform to leap from and to guide, because the world is so messed up now, where people have no morals and no, like I was telling the girls the other day, people don't say, you treat others the way you want to be treated. Now it's all me, me, me. And with the world like that, you're not going to have nothing but chaos, because people have to care for one another. Just a simple thing like that. They wouldn't get into fights. They'll think about the other person's feelings before they speak. That's the way I was raised. And when my mother told me certain scriptures in the Bible, I believed them. So it's just how you put your faith in what you believe and how you believe it, and without falsehood. And so that's why I think when talking with him, I knew that they would be the best people to do the film, because anyone else would want to do something else and put some sensationalism in it, and it wasn't. It was just being true people who honestly did hard work. And during that time, we tried to help other people who went their own way, but that's what you get. And anyone that was against us, okay, fine. We know what we have to do. We just keep on going down the road that we're going, and you find your road if you think it's the best way.
Well, to that point, Zach and Ray, as we kind of close out this conversation, what do you hope that King Richard puts out into the world? What do you hope? And obviously I know people have had takeaways from this film already, and I'm sure have spoken to you and sent you emails and all kinds of things about this film and how it's affected them. But at the end of the day, what do you hope the legacy of this film is? And Zach, I'll start with you and kind of go around the horn here.
I mean, honestly, I think what's probably clearly evident, just that this family was an incredible inspiration to, so many people. And I hope that the film shows not just what the triumphs look like, but what the challenges and struggles that they had to overcome to get there. And then I also think just the idea of kind of collective effort and collective ambition, because obviously it was, it's not just Venus and Serena's accomplishments, it's the whole families and Oracene and all of the sisters and Richard, we're all played huge roles in achieving what they all achieved. And that I've said this, I think, before, but that really felt like what the experience of making the movie was as well. That that Aunjanue and Ray and Oracene and Isha and Lindrea and Will and John, all the actors, Demi and Sanaya, it was a really collective and collaborative effort to bring this to the screen. And I think it really mimicked in some ways what we all got from what the family had achieved. So, and Oracene, just thank you so much. It was a huge honor and privilege to get to be a part of it.
Echo that. I mean, look, I think the film will mean many different things from different people, but what Aunjanue said before, which is, hopefully the folks will get their roses. It's far too often that we go unseen, our stories go untold, and to be able to shine a light on that, I think Venus and Serena's legacy will go far beyond the tennis court, and that's because of how they were raised. And as great as tennis legends that they will become, they're even better human beings. And that's what we're raising. They were raising champions beyond the field. They were intellectuals, people that were able to share their talents, more than just athleticism. And I think it's a testament to you, Miss Oracene, and to Richard and his crazy ways, but y'all did it. Y'all guys did it together, and you did it by bonding together. To see a Black family on screen in this way, you just don't see it. It's what I was hoping for as a kid growing up, to see myself reflected, see my father out there as crazy as he was in those short shorts, to see my mother out there. What I love about the kitchen scene is that she's making sandwiches while this was happening. Who's feeding those girls? It's like it's all there, and I think it's so representative of who you guys are as people. We love seeing your daughters play because of the people that they are, the fight, the grit, the determination, and that's what you're rooting for on top of the winning. And so kudos to you guys, and thank you again for letting us share this story.
I thank you, because it was important that you put it in as a family thing, because it was a family effort. We would have those family meetings and everything. Everybody was involved. Everybody had a part.
Thank you, Miss Oracene, for being a part of this conversation, but really, as everyone around here said, for your impact on us all beyond this film, beyond the court, and through your girls. Thank you to everyone watching for taking a deeper look at King Richard, and thank you to Aunjanue Ellis, Reinaldo Marcus Green, and Zach Baylin for taking us there. Please encourage all of your friends and family, and really get your family together to watch King Richard a second or third time, because I'm assuming you've already seen it at least once. Apologies for the spoilers if not.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Angelique.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.